Joining us now is Daniel Debow. He's a former Shopify executive and leader of the initiative Build Canada. That initiative is focused on bold ideas to drive Canada's economic growth and prosperity. Daniel, welcome back to the show.
Hey, Elias. Thanks for having me.
So, as news does, news gives us a lot of things that may turn us down a different path to what we expected to talk about today. I just want to let our listeners know about the latest post coming from Donald Trump. This is about 10 minutes ago. All caps, if companies move to the United States, there are no tariffs, triple exclamation mark. I just want to know, from your business perspective, from where you come from, how do you view the threat of the United States and tariffs here?
Well, it's very real and it's very serious. And I don't think it's the end of offers, inducements, and crazy ideas that we're going to hear from south of the border. And therefore, I think we have to be very serious about our responses, not just in retaliatory measures, which I understand and make sense, but also in the measures that we take to strengthen our own economy and become a much more effective and productive country. Because that's the ultimate response, which is, okay, you want to take these actions, we can do other things. We have alternate choices. We have alternatives to what you're doing. Right now, we're in a tougher spot. We don't have as many alternates, and so we're much more susceptible to the leverage that's being presented. And so I think that's the way I would think about what's happening. It's very real, and we have to get serious and take some serious action.
And of course, when your initiative, Build Canada, was announced, you came on this program, we talked about it. And there has been a tremendous response to your Build Canada initiative. I would imagine that what's happening between Canada and the U.S. is a big part of that. Why don't you tell me about the response you've seen so far?
Sure. So just to remind the listeners, Build Canada is a website that publishes detailed, specific, and actionable ideas from Canadian business leaders for ways to grow our economy and become more productive. I think that's the key idea of what we're doing. And the response has been really positive. I think for the most part, people have reached out and they're, first of all, just excited about a positive message that we can build things in our country. We can build our economy. We can work together. I think, second, people are excited about the approach, which is transparent and open and invites people to just get serious and debate ideas. I'd say there has been some backlash, I suppose, people who want to characterize this as some sort of like Elon Musk secret tech bro thing. And it's just definitely not that. I mean, no one in this group is thinking about, running things in the government or taking, that's just complete scaremongering. And I think people, when we push back, they recognize that. This is about trying to be constructive. And I think that's where we all have to be. That's what I mean by being serious. We have to stop silly games. Oh, your idea is bad because of this. Your idea, you're just in it for this. I mean, for everyone. I mean, we just have to get serious here.
But I have to ask you about that, about the scaremongering that's going on, right? Because it's some big names that are doing it. Gerald Butts, of the Justin Trudeau legacy, and now of Mark Carney, right? Working on the Mark Carney team. That's one of those voices that is very critical of an initiative like you and the tech bros and the Elon Musk stuff. And he's a pretty powerful person politically in Canada. So I wonder what that makes you think when you hear that criticism and pushback.
I mean, look, Jerry is a political operative, and he's doing what he needs to do to try and help his guy, which I think is Mark Carney. And I think one of the ways you do that is to make people fearful and a little worried. Candidly, I pushed back on his post. He did post the other day about, there's a Doge replica hanging around, and he reposted a professor who was quite critical of one post of one project of Build Canada, which is called Canada Spends. We should talk about that, which is a site that posts information the government posts itself about how they're spending their money. To his credit, I mean, he did reply once I pushed back and said, look, this is exactly what people want, a transparent effort in good faith. He said, he said he wasn't really referring to Build Canada. He doesn't like the Elon talk, which I think I can understand. But he does say he's glad what we're doing, and it's an important contribution. So I think, I think there's a natural tendency to try and create political points, but I just don't want to get dragged into it. I want people to focus on getting serious. We need to have policies that help the country grow, and especially today. Yeah. We don't have time for nonsense. I think that's just a waste of our time. We have to do the things that we know we need to do to help Canadian businesses grow so that they can employ Canadians, then Canadians can have the promise of a Canadian life. I think it's just that simple.
We're staring at a podium, by the way, with the Canadian flags in the background, awaiting the Prime Minister. He's going to show up at any moment and address Canadians. Daniel, listen. Yep.
I was going to say one other response I should have said that we got from this is a bunch of, I'd say, very senior current and former civil servants reached out to us, or we got connected with them. And, they basically, I'd say at a high level, they said, you're on the right track. In fact, you should be more aggressive in suggesting that we need to really make hard choices and decisions about what and how we prioritize things and how we employ people in the federal government to make our country more productive.
Well, this is what I wanted to get to you about. That's literally, that was my next question, because this is the thing. It's when it comes to government spending, it's so clear there are excesses. It's plain as day. It's out there in the open, because we do have a government that's pretty transparent about it, to be honest. They're transparent with the spending and that kind of thing. And we know about the bodies. So were you surprised about how many civil servants, people that are higher up, that are in charge of or responsible for doling out a lot of the spending, came to you to talk to you or to talk to Build Canada about the waste?
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised. I shouldn't be, because I think I just want to say from the outset, I'm not anti-government. I don't think people who are around Build Canada don't believe that there are amazing, hardworking, very qualified public servants out there. It's actually, if anything, I think what we're trying to do in some cases when we talk about public is unblock those people. I think there's a lot of great people who want to do great work, but we did a paper the other day about just hiring and performance standards. Look, the federal government literally barely fires anybody, and I'm not trying to be some sort of bloodthirsty person, but if anybody has ever worked in a company and had someone who shirks beside them, they take your morale out. Like, it's bad for people who want to do good work to have people around them who aren't doing great work or who don't try, who don't care. And then it's also, anyone who's ever run a business, ever managed a team, a not-for-profit or a profit, who simply can't get rid of an employee. That is the case in the federal government. I think the stat someone came up, now this was maybe even 5-8 years ago, but it was like less than 0.03% of employees get terminated for incompetence. And, that something's off with that, right?
Statistically
we have to have
impossible.
A high-performance federal government.
It's statistically impossible, but it's like sacrilege in this country to bring something like that up. Almost.
So that's the part why I was surprised is that you'd think that, and I think probably because anytime you bring up these topics, people reflexively start to say you're anti-government. The worst insult in Canada, of course, is you want to make American-style things, and it's like, no, I want peace, order, and good government. Good government means an effective and productive government. And the surprising thing about the phone calls was, and kind of scary, was senior folks who were like, we are not able in some cases to carry out the lawful orders of ministers. We've become government. Well, the line I heard was government's always going to be inefficient, right? That's what in some ways, having reserve capacity, extra firefighters, warehouses full of stuff in case of a pandemic. That's, arguably not efficient, but it makes sense. The worry is when it becomes ineffective, when you can't get your passport done, when we don't vet people for immigration, when we don't have accountability when we regulate businesses to say, okay, what's the regulatory cost, but also how does this impact Canadian businesses? Yeah. And when that's not happening, that's a problem. And so I think the surprising thing was how much enthusiasm people that I spoke to, and again, I'm not an investigative reporter. I didn't do a survey. I tweeted out, hey, I had a whole bunch of phone calls, and the commentary back was, you're on the right track. In fact, one comment, we talked about how the federal government, has grown to the largest size it's been since the 70s as a ratio of workforce to performance, from like 0.72 to 0.91%. This is as big as that proportion has been since we were in the 70s stagflation, right? Our CRA has grown 50%, and it's larger than the UK tax authority. It's twice the size of the Australian. It's almost as big as the IRS, which has 10 times the population.
Daniel, listen, there are so many things that you've run up here. And I think some of the pushback is very telling about who's really at risk here if we try and do things a little bit differently in this country. Not blow things up, just do things a little bit differently. Daniel, we have to leave it there. We're waiting the Prime Minister.
Problem.
You've been very helpful this morning, and thanks for coming on.
Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Daniel Debow is behind the Build Canada initiative.